you guys have an assignment that is going to be exploring the correlation between points on a scatter plot. You watched a video on that yesterday that introduced the idea of a positive correlation and a negative correlation. And I just want to remind you quickly what Slope Dude said about positive, negative, and well, mostly positive and negative. So remember, if we're going up from left to right, that is a positive. That was a positive slope. That pattern is going to be the same when we're talking about the correlation on a scatter plot. And then we said going downwards from left to right, well, that was a negative slope. And that's going to be the same when we start talking about correlation on a scatter plot. Now, when Slope Dude was going straight across, he said that was zero fun. And then he said this was, remember, undefined. These aren't, we're not going to use these when we're talking about correlation. Our choices with correlation are either positive, negative, or none, which is not either zero or undefined. So I'll show you what that looks like right now. Here we're looking at a scatter plot. And if you notice that these dots on the scatter plot, the points on your scatter plot, are arranged in such a way that they are going in what would be a negative sloping, a positive sloping line. They're kind of going in an upward direction, then we call that a positive correlation. That's supposed to say positive. There we go. And in B, see, if they go across like this, I sort of led you guys astray in my introduction, but if they go straight across, Slope Dude would call that a zero slope. We just call that a constant. Constant, which just means that there's no change here, it just stays flat. On C, notice that that is a positive correlation. These dots are kind of everywhere, right? But they're kind of maybe sloping upward just slightly. So I would accept two answers for this. I would accept none if you see that those dots really aren't related at all, if there's no sloping upward or sloping downward. I would accept none or no correlation. Or I might accept, depending on how you see this, a very weak positive correlation. Like they're not tightly clustered like this one was, but they still could possibly be going in an upward direction. Part E, I would say that these is closer to a none or a no correlation. They don't seem to be sloping upward, nor do they seem to be sloping downward. That is a negative correlation. It kind of looks like a line with a negative slope. And so if you would identify that as a negative sloping line, you're going to call that a negative correlation. So how something is correlated is the same as its slope. See those? Those don't really seem to be in any sort of order whatsoever. So I would say that is a no correlation or none. It is no correlation. And then this one is sloping downward. So that is going to be negative correlation. So you have a couple questions on your assignment today that have you referring to a graph and describing the positive, or describing the correlation as either positive, negative, or none, depending on what you see on the graph. You also have a set of, I don't want to call them word problems, but some word phrases that you guys are supposed to be identifying as having a positive correlation, a negative correlation, or none. So I'm going to talk to you about how to do that. Let me change the view. All right. So these two slides go together in that when your problems on your worksheet are going to look like these. It's going to look like number one. It's going to say, tell me the correlation between the number of fans at a football game and the amount of concession sales at the football game. And what we do over here, what we talk about over here, is going to help you with your answer for the problem on the left. So we need to think about what happens as one of these variables increases. So your two variables are the number of football fans that appear at your game and the amount of sales at your concession stand. So we start thinking about, as the number of football fans increases, think about what happens to your concession sales. Well, if you have more people at the game, you would assume that you would have more concession sales as a result. And so if your concessions increases as your fans increase, then that makes this a positive correlation. Now, number 2, talking about the number of chapters read and the number of chapters remaining in a book. So over here, if we're thinking about as we read chapters in the book, as the number of chapters that we read increases, that means that we have fewer chapters to read as we go. So the number of chapters remaining decreases. Decrease. And if one of these increases while the other decreases, that means it's going to look like this on your graph, which is a negative correlation. Boy, I really need to work on this stylus, don't I? So we're going to say negative correlation, because as one goes up, the other goes, so as one goes up, the other goes down. Moving on to number 3, the number of ticket sales and the amount of profit. So think about, as we sell our tickets, what is going to happen to our profit? As ticket sales increase, profits also increase. And if both of these things increase at the same time, then that over here means that it's a positive correlation. Number 4, the size of someone's foot and their grade point average. This one, if you guys can think of a relationship between how big someone's foot is and how good of grades they get, you let me know, but there is no correlation between shoe size. Boy, I'm messing this up. Shoe size and grade point average. If this seems like a gibberish statement, then you say none, no correlation. All right, last one, number 5. This could be argued, but we're going to assume in a general case, the age of a car and its price at a used car lot. So the age of a car, as the car gets older, generally, the older it gets, its price at the used car lot, as its age increases, its price decreases. Now that's assuming normal wear and tear and not this whole idea of a classic car increasing value as it gets older. So as one gets increased, the other decreases. Notice if these are going in opposite directions, that means it's going to be a negative correlation. So I hope this helped. Again, let me know if you have questions or if I can help you further when you're working on your assignment today. Thanks.